Hello and welcome to the CUFI Weekly. I'm your host, Kasim Hafiz. Today our episode is being broadcast on International Holocaust Remembrance Day. It's a day which is marked, the 27th of January, to remember those who were murdered during the Holocaust. And while there's so much I can say about the Holocaust, there's so much I can say about antisemitism, there's so much I can say about everything surrounding that, and in past episodes I have discussed it, especially in the last few weeks with the hostage situation in Colleyville, Texas at the synagogue. Once again, anti-Semitism is being discussed, not as widely as it should be, it's not being tackled as it should be, but it's being discussed. But today I thought it was appropriate that we actually hear from somebody who went through the Holocaust. Irving Roth, many of you may know, was a Holocaust survivor of Auschwitz. He lost siblings during the Holocaust, but he was fortunate enough to be liberated from the concentration camp that he was in by American soldiers at the end of the war. We lost Irving, sadly, last year, but he worked with CUFI for many, many years, and we were truly blessed by the work he did, by the person that he was, and everything that he brought, his love of life and just his compassion. For me, Irving was a friend, a mentor, and somebody that I deeply miss. But in the time that Irving spent with CUFI, we were truly blessed to accompany him to some of the more painful places from his past. And on Holocaust Remembrance Day, we want to share those with you so you could get a sense of what it was to be Jewish during the Holocaust.
So here I am, I arrived in Auschwitz. It's the next morning, and we're standing in formation, we're counted, and suddenly they bring little tables, maybe 6 of them or so, 6 guys behind each one. There's a chair on either side, and there's an inkwell, and the man seems to have something which looks like a hypodermic needle. You are transformed from a person with a name, with an identity, to a totally new thing, and that is a number. I would say my approximate location was around here. This, of course, was totally open, and here you had the triple-decker beds, and in each bed, each one of the sections, there were 2 people. So my brother and I were in the top section, one of them. You usually slept head to foot. This way you get extra space. The actual hierarchy that ran the camp were the Germans. They were really lawless. The individual becomes the law. It's November, a transport comes in, and of course everything that the Jews have, rings and gold and chain, all gets confiscated. And being that you're the commander or the assistant commander, you put a couple of things into your pocket, but you really don't want to give a Jewish star to your girlfriend. But you wouldn't mind giving her a nice piece of jewelry. So a transport comes in, you have the jewelry, so now you have to do something with it. So you would announce to the crowd, how many jewelers here? And the guys would say, okay. Those guys would live 3 months, 6 months, sometimes a year. Because what they would do is continue, that stuff continues to come in, you confiscate it, you take part of it for yourself, and your wife and girlfriend or girlfriends or kids now have beautiful jewelry. They were in business for themselves. They're all in business. This whole building is an experimental gas chamber and crematorium. Right here is a place you can throw the Zyklon B. So once you have the bodies dead, now you have to do something with them. And you can see the mechanism, how the bodies were put in through into these ovens. So this becomes a model. How do you go about creating this? It's a transformation of not just society, but individual people. Individual human beings, you transform them. How do you do that? You do it through propaganda and demonization of those people you want to get rid of. You make up stories about what they are. Then there are places you do something else, where you reward people for doing something evil. This is all engineered, obviously not by hoodlums. This is built by people who know physics, who knows chemistry, people who are educated in the various technical fields. Here you are, an industrialist who builds ovens. And here is an opportunity to get R&D funding and eventually production. You bid. You fire all the Jewish professors at the university. Well, if you fire 7 full professors, there are 7 jobs available, 7 positions available. Who gets the job? Because your objective is to get promoted. Well, whoever joins the party first. Now you have to give lectures on the ideology. You also have to wear a uniform once every month or twice. And slowly you get seduced, one step at a time. You see the actual process. You see the remnants of the actual work that was done by people to commit these heinous crimes. When you see the words, when you see the propaganda, when you see the actions even, you begin to relate to that and then say, what could I have done then? And what should I do now so it does not result in this ultimate evil? I consider CUFI to do what the righteous of the nations did. I consider CUFI be doing today what the righteous did 70, 80 years ago. I hope someday every university in America will have a CUFI chapter, because that's the path. Tell the truth.
That was the late and incredible Irving Roth. There's so much that we can glean from his messaging, from what he said, from his experiences. And I don't want to now go into a monologue like many times I do. All I want to say is this. We have a responsibility. As Christians, we have a responsibility to speak out against this evil. Irving frequently talks about signposts to Auschwitz. It began with words. We're seeing the words, we're even seeing the actions today. We, as Americans, as Christians, as people who believe in doing good, must speak up, we must stand up, and we must make sure that this evil cannot be allowed to grow further than it already has. This is Qasim Hafiz for the CUFI Weekly. Until next week, for Zion's sake, do not hold your peace. Thanks for checking out today's episode of CUFI Weekly. If you enjoyed this episode and want to stay up to date with the latest news from the Middle East along with topics involving US-Israel relations, please be sure to like and subscribe. And remember to click that notification button so that you are notified every time a new show is uploaded.